Zeal Education Society, redefining excellence.
Education is not just about going to school and colleges and getting the degree. It is about gaining the knowledge and using it for development of the nation. Pune is known as the education hub of India. Many institutes in Pune are helping to the students for gaining their good knowledge, are working for the betterment of the students. All these students or these youngsters are the future of the nation. I am Professor Sachin Wadekar. I welcome you back in Zeal Connect. Zeal Connect is initiative started by Zeal Group of Management Institute. Zeal Connect is initiative of connecting the colleges in Pune, where we are going to understand that how these colleges are working. So today we are at very famous college, Marathwada Mitramandal's College of Commerce. This college is also having the historical legacy of 35 years, which was established in 1985. Today we are having Principal Professor Dr.Devidas Golhar with us. Welcome sir for this Zeal Connect program. So I would like to start off with the interview. So sir, first question to you, can you please share with us about this institute?
Okay, first of all, welcome to MMCC. It's really a great job that you're doing under Zeal Connect. The Zeal Institute is going across interviewing some personalities from the field of education. Today it is required perhaps because just getting to know the perspectives from various stakeholders, it will actually help people, even to all the stakeholders themselves, to understand each other. So welcome to the institute. Now talking about the institute or this particular mandal, before I get into MMCC as a college, I would just like to give you a very brief about the trust that actually came into existence. Way back in '67, I mean this is a very interesting story or a cause I can speak about. The then finance minister as well as the home minister of India, late Honorable Shankar Rao Ji Chauhan, who found out that there are some major problems for students who come down from, particularly from a region, Marathwada region. They do get admitted to institutes over here, but how about the stay? How about the hostel facilities that they, I mean, there were very limited hostel facilities at that point in time. So then came this idea about why not build an exclusive hostel only for the people, students who come down from Marathwada to various institutes in Pune, and that's how the trust got into existence. And the trust got into existence for the sole purpose of hostel, and rest is history. Now we started from a hostel and in '67, and then in '86, '85, '86, MMCC, a commerce college, came into existence. Now, if I look at, because I am also in a way new to this place, I am still just a year old to this institution. But in this 1 year time, I have really got impressed with the institute's vision, the institute purpose, why it came into existence, and the kind of services that is rendering to the masses. In fact, the institute's tagline is, in Marathi they call it Bahutance Hit. So, yeah, it's welfare of the masses. It really stands for that particular tagline or the vision. So it started from a hostel, a very noble start, and then there was a need felt that with the increased number of students coming in, most of the students used to get disappointed for not getting admissions to the nearby institutes like BMCC, Garware, Ferguson, and all of those, because this entire area is completely dominated with education institutes. And then came this idea that why not we also start into an education discipline, I mean actually formal education. And this is where two institutes were born in '85, '86. That's the College of Architect. I would like to say that College of Architect of Marathwada Mitramandal is the first private college in Pune. And then came Marathwada Mitramandal College of Commerce. Now people had those apprehensions then that in the vicinity of BMCC, Garware, Modern, how would any one more college would actually take shape? But I guess I don't need to tell you this. The history is a testimony to this, that we are not just started, we didn't just sustain, but we actually grew over a period of time. It's 35 years of journey, and the institute has really, to discredit a great eclogues, which the institute actually tries to look it in future as well, that how it will grow further into the new dimensions as well.
Yeah, it was such a great story, we can say. As compared to other institute, Marathwada has made a benchmark in the field of the education.
Right.
So one personal question, sir, I would like to ask you now. How you have started your journey in the field of education and how you get connected with this institute?
Okay, I would really like to cut it very short because of time constraints. I am a management graduate from Somaya Institute, and actually started with industry, but eventually when I was working with the industry, there was a joint project which started with Mumbai University, and then I was working on this particular project. Eventually it so happened that the project, in the midst of the project, there were some vacancies that came to Mumbai University, and I was asked, since I was heading that particular project, I was asked to take it over completely as a part of Mumbai University, and this is how actually I entered into academics. So I entered into academics not necessarily as a teacher, but more as a kind of a facilitator. And later on, opportunities came through. Then I went on to work with TISS, and then again came back to Mumbai University. For family reasons, I had to shift to Pune, and then I worked with Sinhagad. So if I look at my own journey, last 20 years have been into either university, Central University, State University and Postgraduate Institute. Now how did I land up here? See, when I look at my journey of educating only at the postgraduate level, I always felt, and more importantly in management education, I always have felt that because management education, we do get candidates from all disciplines, that is from engineering, pharmacy, conventional courses as well. And over a period of time, I have witnessed that the engagement of student to the discipline, whichever the graduate discipline that they are into, and they further come for MBAs, it is into kind of a situation wherein we really need to think that is management education has become so easy, or it is because it has become so accessible as well, had it lost its relevance in terms of maybe industry expectations or in terms of basic skill building? Because management as a discipline is not a discipline itself, it's basically a skill building exercise. Eventually it was turned into a discipline for formal reasons. Exactly. So I thought, like, if I can make an intervention to a PG student, which at times becomes, for me, at times it sounded like it's a little late. So why not we make a necessary interventions at a graduate level itself, so that there is no question of unlearning. I mean, because these days learning is far better, far more easier than unlearning. So if I can, I mean, that is a thought, and I came honestly with that thought that if I can make, because I know for sure that what is required for a PG now. And when a person who knows what is required for a PG comes back to graduate now and does a necessary intervention at the graduate level itself, so making those students perhaps more eligible, more engaged for their PG courses. Or why only PG courses? Even perhaps if they can achieve whatever possibly if they would have achieved as a PG, they could have achieved, they can achieve even as a management graduates. Exactly. So having known what is required there, and do a possible intervention now over here, perhaps that could be one of the way I see that student can be made more engaged, they can be made more aware towards management education. So that's what I'm trying at this place. It's 1 year, and let's see how it works out further.
So for sure, starting the journey with the industry, then coming to the education field, starting the journey in the education field as an assistant professor, and then heading this institute, definitely it is the big achievement. And we can say that it was the journey of a struggle, as well as we have seen your perspective in terms of the field of the education also. So the next question is related with, during COVID-19, many institutes have tried their best to reach to their students. Yes. So how MMCC has reached to their students in terms of the education?
I would say fortunately when I came down here, it was the month of February 2020, and I just had, I mean, technically speaking, had I known that there's going to be a pandemic in the month of March, I would have prepared enough. But yes, when we broke into a lockdown situation, I started taking the stock of the things. And then I realized that most of the places in terms of technological interventions are in place. Like, for example, the basic things like Google Classrooms and all, they were already existing over here. And in a conventional setup, most people always say that professional colleges are ahead of conventional, but I differ over here, because having now worked at conventional colleges as well, I would say that even they are doing their bit in terms of technological interventions with the curriculum, with the dissemination. So those things were at place, fortunately. So we could immediately take the most of the sessions online because we already had that basic ecosystem of the Google Classrooms. Second major challenge was about admission, because as in being a commerce college, the admissions happens at the institute level. So we immediately got a foolproof ERP system, which is a complete robust ERP system, wherein the admissions and most of the other administrative things also were in place. Other than this, now the college is known for its co-curricular and extracurricular activities. Now how that could be done, that was a major challenge. So we tried to at least co-curricular, like arranging various seminars which came in the form of webinars and then FDPs. So those all were taken because of the platforms available, online platforms were available, we could take it. And most of those events we did that. We did those events because of those technological interventions that was done at the right time. And just to give you a glimpse of it, we started with a webinar, I still remember, in the month of April, wherein we did a webinar on patent and IPR, wherein we also roped in. And the best part that has happened because of the pandemic, I would say that you can rope in the best of the best resource persons, because they don't need to travel. And even if they have, like, there's a 15 minutes of time slot they have between two programs, they can be at your program. So that's how we roped in even Amitabh Kant, we roped in even the Commissioner of Patent, we roped in even the Education Minister of Maharashtra for that program, we roped in the Vice Chancellor's Dean. I guess that's, I mean, I would want to say that pandemic, but because of pandemic, perhaps we came to a realization that we can do an optimum use of the technology.
Exactly.
That's the only best thing perhaps that has happened out of pandemic, and we as a college, we did all possible interventions to do it.
Great, sir. If we adopt the new technology very easily, then definitely there are certain advantages, and you have taken the benefit of it.
True. Very true.
So moving ahead, while working in this institute, there may be many memorable days for you, and yes, we also wanted to know about it.
Yes, I mean 1 year, but yes, there are certain good moments that I actually enjoyed. Certain accolades the college brought in for itself. I've been really proud to share that one of our students won at a Khelo India, 5 gold medals she won at the Khelo India movement, and also 3 gold at the inter-university, All India inter-university swimming competition. She was recently even appreciated, and she was garnered with this award of Pailwan Khashabajada Award from Pune University. She is the only athlete. There are 2 athletes the university selects, male and female. So she was selected as the best sports person from Pune University. That is one. So really made me feel very proud that I belong to this place now. The second is recently the MSCET result that was declared for medical entrance. Our student stood first in Maharashtra.
Great.
So that's another. So people started saying that, sir, I mean, this is the thing that the college is getting, but not like that. When I look in the past, there are various reasons to, I mean, you feel good about this place, you feel cherished. Being over here. So, and the other thing is some of our faculty members were very actively involved into trying to reach to students. So 1 or 2 faculty of ours also created 2-3 apps. One of the app that was created, which goes by the name Onzar. In Marathi it is, yeah. So she was appreciated at the state level board. She also came across with a website which is called Sahitya Vedi. Which is exclusively getting into the Marathi literature. So she was called at even the Mantralaya by the Department of Education. The ministers and the secretaries also felicitated her. So there are many things actually, which I can recall only 2 or 3 instantly. But yes, you feel that what have I done into this this credit? But yes, that's how the systems are. I mean, you create environment, you create the basic ecosystem so that people are able to perform. People are able to perform fearlessly, they are able to perform without any constraints. So I'd see to it that in future also I try to create those facilitative kind of environment so that people are able to perform. And I have many moments to cherish from that.
Yes, sir, it was a great moments which we have had, and definitely there will be more moments in the future. That is what is our wishes are.
Yeah.
So moving ahead, there are for overall development, there are n number of the activities MMCC is doing. That's why many students who wanted to take the admission into the MMCC, but they are not getting, because there is a very high percentage cutoff is there.
That's true. That's true.
So what kind of all these activities are there which you all are doing for the overall development of the students?
Yes, that's very true. The proportion of applicants as against the vacants, I mean seats available, that's quite very huge actually. I mean just for 600, like commerce we have 600 intake, the applications with the tune of 14,000. So it's huge actually. Why is it the most sought after college? What do we do for that? I just went into and tried to look at how things are done. So one is most of our students have got into CA, CS, ICWAs. Recently, I mean one more thing that I'd like to share, at All India ICWA exam, our students stood fifth. So rank fifth, yeah. So we as teachers, we always try to identify and those students. We also have a competitive competitive exam centers, wherein we try to put students as per their interest areas, and we deliberate on each group into what they skill sets or knowledge set they should be requiring to pass that particular exam. So that one intervention actually has paid us to a larger extent. One. Second is in terms of extracurricular, if I'd like to say that, because our art circle is quite active. So because students have different reasons to get into the colleges. I mean some only come because the art circle is good, some come academic is good. So they have their reasons. So art circle has done really a wonderful job. They have even won the Purushottam Karandak in the past and various other trophies. Sports, as I said, we even have the Arjun awardees from the college in the past in cricket and all the possible disciplines. Academics, as I said, we do a kind of an identification of student in terms of their inclinations, in terms of the interest area, and that's how perhaps students who are really wanting to do something, there is a help from the college. So that was also one of the reasons perhaps students wish to come down to this place.
So if holistic development is there, then definitely we can say that we will be having the students who got the Arjun award.
Yeah.
And same like that, if students are getting the award, college is also receiving the award. Our college recently has received the Best College of Commerce award.
Correct.
So what was the thing which made MMCC is the best college in Pune?
As I said recently that there are various on academic, co-curricular, extracurricular, there are various very systematic kind of interventions that have been done in the past. Perhaps that could be also the reason that we felt that we deserve to have called as one of the best college, and that's how, I mean, award is just a kind of an outcome of it.
Exactly.
I mean, it happened way back in 2009, but still we are continued to be one of the, I mean, I don't believe in rankings as such, but when I looked at the student preferences, as per the preferences, we are in the top 3 in terms of the student giving their choices to the college. So perhaps public perception also helps in getting such awards, and public perceptions are formed out of the real work, the objective work that is done at the college. So maybe we are glad that we have it, and we'll also try to have more awards. I mean, formally we didn't apply for many, but now this is the era where we need to make ourselves more visible. So in future we will also try to apply for various other awards so that we become more visible to public in general.
Yes, sir. MMCC is always also one step ahead in terms of social activities.
Yes.
You were doing the many social activities.
True.
So can you please share a few recent social activities which was benefited for the society?
Very recent, meaning to say, if I say since my joining, I mean hardly there was a scope, but yes, our NSS unit, I would like to put it on record over here. Almost like 8 or 10 students of our NSS unit were serving the COVID center continuously for 5 months. And God forbid, nothing happened there, they're still going strong. And even today now, again, they are roped in. So that is one. The second is, as I said, if I have to look at social service, I should first start looking at what's happening at the institute. Like the philanthropy starts from home, they say. So, I mean, this is a very unique thing about this place, I would say. That as a principal I have witnessed, because I have been through one round of admission now. So as a principal I have witnessed that this institute really stands for the needy and the meritorious students. The society has a policy wherein if they are deserving student, they would simply write off the fees. I mean, it's not even installment. Simply write it off. And on top of it, we also have this earn and learn scheme where the university sponsors, but we don't depend on the university. The university has limited kind of funds. But I mean, last year I was just going through and almost like 5 lakhs was just spent for as an earn and learn scheme over and above what is being received from the Pune University. And the waiving of fees. So if many professional colleges, if you look at it, they have this scholarship. They formally name that as a scholarship for meritorious student. I could consider this as a scholarship because waiving of the fees itself is a scholarship.
Right.
So in that context, if I look at it, the philanthropy started from home, and it actually, as I say, leads to that particular aspect of welfare of the masses. And then reaching out to the outside world, we have identified few of the orphanage, few of the old age homes, few of the HIV, centers where HIV centers in the sense the charitable trust which looks up to the HIV infected, and those are the regular kind of trust and the institutes or agencies that we visit. We help them in cash and we also help them in kind, and regularly. It is not from this year. It has been a kind of an history or custom from the last 20-25 years. And as a part of that, recently, just before you came in, we have purchased almost like books to the tune of 20,000, and we are going to send it to I can't recall the name exactly now, the agency which is at
social organization.
Yeah, I mean I unable to recall the name, but yes, I mean the books are going to be sent to those. So it's an ongoing activity, and if I really break it down in terms of the monetary valuation of it, it will run to lakhs. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, having worked at a private institute, having worked at a government institute, and now working over here, this is a unique concept in itself in terms of how you not only try and educate people, but also try to look at the masses in general who are not necessarily connected to your institute directly, but you still reach to them in various ways.
Very great, sir. And definitely Zeal is also one step ahead in terms of the social initiatives, and
nice.
In the future we will be doing the things together for the society.
Of course. I mean, collaborations is a very necessary.
We can do it more better maybe.
Yes,
we can reach out to the needy people also.
In fact, we are trying to, because we already are in talks with some of the corporates as well. We have identified one village as well as one slum in this area. There are some basic need assessment surveys are to be taken. We are almost on to it now, and there are few initial discussion that has happened with the corporate, and they are willing to be a partner to this particular thing because they also want to have a kind of a project which are readily made, and as a part of their CSR they may also spend legitimately, and we collectively can benefit. This is where collaborations can work actually for the betterment of masses.
Sure, sir. A new education policy was recently launched by Government of India. And it was actually a proud moment to me also that I am sitting in front of the person who was the part of it. So you are the member for it. So we would like to listen that what was your role and what is your role right now, and what is your opinion about new education policy?
Too many questions actually in one go, but yes. Actually, policy came into existence after the approval of the cabinet, and the states were given the responsibilities of implementing it. In a sense, since education is a concurrent subject, now state came across with this particular initiative that they need to form a task force which looks into the implementation of this policy, and I'm a member to this particular task force which is headed by Honorable Bashikar sir. Now, how are we doing it? We are trying to look at what are the guidelines, what are the various provisions that are made available in the Education NEP 2020, and how that can be implemented. And the process of implementation, what are the constraints, what are the existing ecosystems, are they really supportive? If not supportive, what needs to be done? Who are the stakeholders to do it? What is the time frame for it? So this is what we are working at this point in time. Now, talking about NEP, is it going to bring in the change in the education system? Yes, it is going to be. It is meant for that basically, because if you look at the policy which came under the leadership of Custom Ranging Committee, it came by identifying some of the constraints and limitations of the earlier policy, the policy which we before 2020. So, if you have to address that, we necessarily have to bring in some structural changes into the current education system. Like, for example, it is quite lengthy, but just one or two things. Like the concept of affiliation will be phased out in days to come. Now, how do we do that actually? Like today, almost like 80% or more institutes actually operate in the form of affiliation. They're standalone institute, but otherwise most of them are affiliated. So all of those institutes or colleges are going to be single standalone institute. Like how that can happen? I mean,
they will not be affiliated.
They won't be affiliated. They won't have any affiliation. Pune University over a period of time would be a kind of an independent central university. So likewise, every institute would be called as a higher education institute. And further to that, we also will witness that there are cluster universities that are going to come in. Like for example, Maharashtra has first cluster university in the form of Dr. Homi Bhabha Cluster University in Mumbai, which is a combination of 5 colleges. Now all those 5 colleges are government colleges which are located in the 5-kilometer radius. So now, I mean, it has happened, it is already functioning. So likewise, there is a possibility that in future, like Pune is a hub of education institute, and particularly if I look at this particular geography, I mean, there are like more than a dozen institutes in just 5 square kilometer area. Oh, so there is a possibility that we might have a cluster university itself over here.
Right?
So the changes are going to be in structures, the changes are going to be in curriculum, the changes are going to be in terms of the evaluation patterns. So basically, in general, if I have to sum it up in just 1 or 2 sentences, our earlier education, if not completely, it is more like what we need, what we think that the student should learn. So it is less of student centric. But this particular policy tries to make it more student centric. It tries to give more flexibility, more autonomy, more freedom to the student to choose what they wish to study, rather than we deciding what they should study. So that kind of ecosystem is to be created, and that's the reason those structural changes are required. So let's be hopeful. I mean, things would be in right time implemented, and it would be responded or reciprocated by all the stakeholders, so that it becomes more student-centric in future.
Definitely, after listening you, I can say that this policy will be beneficial to the youngsters of the India in the upcoming future. And for sure, as you were working with the Dr. Raghunath Mashelkar sir, so it will be also the extraordinary experience for you. So how was that experience? Because the scientists who have received Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan, and Padma Vibhushan. So how was that experience?
Oh, wonderful. In fact, the person brings in his entire experience into his work, quite methodological, very objective, and at the same time is very grounded in terms, very modest in terms of his approach. Doesn't carry that aura of I'm so and so. It doesn't, I mean, make you feel that way, so that the person on the other side also feels that very easiness to put his or her thought across.
Right.
So yes, of course, as one of the great person to work with, and there are also other good people, other people as well. We have even Mr. Thorat, Dr. Thorat sir, and there are various other vice chancellors also working on it. So in a way, it's a good experience to me. And fortunately, the composition of the task force is such that everybody has a different perspective with his own experience. And perhaps that is what is required. I mean, you need to bring in all the perspectives on the table and try to evolve into a consensus which is more benefiting to the masses. So yes, it's a wonderful experience, and I'm still having it. Let's see how things shapes up.
Yeah. Every individual is playing a dual role in his life. Like you are also playing a dual role. You are heading this institute over here, but in your family you are also head of the family. So doing these both the responsibilities, having the workload of the principal, is we know that what kind of the workload is there. So how you all are how you are doing the work-life balance, we can say.
I mean, it's 20 years into academics now. Things have quite streamlined in terms of how do you actually operate yourself. As for the head of the household, I won't accept that. My wife is also kind of a partner to it. She's also working. She's a professor. Yes, but in this pandemic time, things have been little different. The thing is, there are apprehensions. There is a fear. I have a son. So my mother stays with me at times. So yes, there are apprehensions, but at the same time, what I feel is if you are confined to only 4 walls, then what's the reason? What's the purpose of being in life? I mean, if you can't do justice to what you are supposed to be in as a part of your job responsibility. Yes, of course. I can very well understand that life is a much a bigger aspect. Work just happens to be a part of it. But yes, justice has to be done to that particular work as well. So yes, we take all the precautions to sound very objective. Try to see that we have a quality time instead of having more time. I don't see that has become a challenge. I mean, as for me, I don't know, the way I handle it naturally, it has all become a kind of effortless thing. I'm very much able to do that. That's what I can say.
Happy to listen that, sir. You are doing the good work-life balance. We are going towards the end of this interview. This is the second last question to you, sir. We all know that today's generation is bit screen addicted. Majority of the time they are spending on their phone. Even Times of India's 2019, it was a survey in 2019 of Times of India. In the survey it was mentioned that out of 24 hours, they were or youngsters are almost spending their time for 14 to 16 hours on their mobile phone. So, what is your message to all those youngsters who are spending too much time on the mobile phone?
I don't know when was this research done, when was this survey done by Times, but yes, there could be a possibility that the increased time may be because of our own intervention now. I mean, because most of our education is online, so that's again adding to the screen time. Yes, but the addiction to screen time and whether that can be called as a problem or that just a process of evolution in terms of people experiencing it, it's just to be debated, I believe. Because every point in time, whatever recreation the mankind had, people at that point in time in that generation got addicted to that particular recreation, and then that's how we have evolved. And now we have people addicted to screens, and maybe in near future there would be something else, and people will not even touch the screen, maybe not even for necessary things. So that could be a possibility, I believe, that people there should be some intervention done as a parent, as a teacher, so teachers or even adults for that matter. We are also to a larger extent spending more time on screens. What are the other active ways of learning, or what are the active ways of actually recreation? I mean, that needs to be found out. And this is not necessarily only a job of a teacher. I believe parents are to a larger extent are an important component to it. So as a parent, I would say that I try to have more conversation with my son.
Exactly.
So that what happens is in a way he's cut off from the screen, and I purposely intervene when he is into the screen, or just take him away from the screen in terms of taking him to the playground or just strolling with him. So I guess those can't be very planned activity, but we try to have a look at it, because see, addiction is fine in a way as long as it is not affecting your regular relationship. If that is affecting the relationship, then there's an issue to be worried about. So if one can keep that thing intact, our relationships are intact, we have a basic caring for each other, we have basic acknowledgement, respect for each other, as a parent, as a teacher, as a friend, I guess that should happen, and rest people would evolve out of the screen. I mean, now if I look at it, the children are, and if any very innovative thing is coming onto the screen, then only they are hooked at. Otherwise they don't want to get back to screen again.
Exactly.
So just consider, as this is we can agree, disagree, my individual opinion is, let student evolve, let children evolve, let we also adult as evolve. We will be bored at some point in time, but in between, yes, if that is affecting our relationship, that is affecting our basic engagement with each other, then we need to make some interventions to do that.
Exactly, sir. So definitely it is up to us that how we are utilizing it.
True.
Too much use is definitely not useful.
Not useful, that's very true.
Moving ahead, sir, you are having the responsibility of principal in this institute, who institute almost is having the legacy of 35 years, historical legacy of 35 years. So what is the future plan for the students in upcoming years?
Now, when I look at the national education policy and when I also look at various stakeholders' requirement, like stakeholder in the sense society at large, but very specific industries, parents, teachers, even the management of the institute. So everybody's expectations are different over a period of time in terms of how we are moving ahead. So are we really reciprocating to this particular response? So let's say, for example, student. I mean, just while we were speaking about screen time, as a student, if I can understand something in a much better way by more of a visual interpretation, why do I listen to a lecture? Right? Then at some point in time, I might have a question that I'm not good at this particular thing. So why do I need to study this? Why not I focus more on to what I actually am good at, naturally good at? So does our education have that kind of ecosystem where a student have that particular choice? So the student as a stakeholder, parent as a stakeholder, industry for example. Industries off late off late in the sense in the recent past also, they have started with this finishing school concept because they feel that we really are not getting the kind of skill sets what we really require. Otherwise, why would an IT company go across recruiting and civil engineer? Exactly. I mean, they just look at the aptitude. Right. And what is aptitude for them? Aptitude is basically how quick learner you are. And this is where perhaps we as an institution should understand that at the end of the day, knowledge is required, but we are not seeking education only for the sake of knowledge, because for us, education is a medium of livelihood. So in that context, I guess several things need to be brought in terms of the expectations of the various stakeholders. So maybe in near future, we are so obsessed with that 3-year degree program, 2-year degree program. So it is more, dictated by the number of years rather than what is actually the content of it and how it is disseminated. So in near future, I would certainly like to bring across programs in collaborations again. That's more important. That's why I say the stakeholders involvement in collaborations which are very much required in terms of their skill set, knowledge, what is required, and accordingly we run that particular program. Now, what will happen in the process is that it will take some time for the people to come out of that mind frame of 3-year program, 2-year program, because that becomes a kind of necessary qualification for various kind of courses or various kinds of employment. So that also may undergo a change. So somewhere the education institute collectively, as in what I think and most of the others also think in a more or less similar manner, we need to bring in more need-based kind of programs. Why is it that we are spending crores on skill development courses and still we don't see much of a skilling happening in India? In fact, it's a kind of an irony. I mean, recently we applied to 3 programs, BO programs, Bachelor of Vocational programs to UGC, and we got those sanctions for these 3 programs. In the near future, we also planning to now immediately start this, and because of the pandemic time, we delayed it. But next year we are starting all those 3 programs. I mean, one is in IoT, Internet of Things, which is very contemporary, I believe, right? Then one is on content writing, because these days, I mean, everybody needs content writing, media. Try to make it more more sellable in the sense things which are more required in the outside market. So likewise, I guess the necessary interventions are required in terms of designing the program, in terms of its duration, in terms of its content, in terms of its dissemination also, how do you really want to disseminate, and also in terms of its evaluation. Otherwise, at the end of the day, what happens is for 3 years, people remain what they abstain from the college at times and just write the final year program paper, and they get. So it's more driven by numbers rather than driven by what learning one has. So maybe it's time now we need to very consciously take those interventions which really focuses on the learner and the learner-centric approaches rather than just on numbers and degrees. So in near future, yes, we are trying to bring in those programs. We are trying to do as much as collaborations we can. So initially, to begin with, this is what the plan is. And fortunately, because of the new education policy, it would actually be helping us to do that. Rather than the earlier structure, if you look at it, they would be constrained, but now they won't be. Since we are going to be independent, initially we would be independent from the affiliation, and then we will be a completely an autonomous institute in a way. So yes, that required infrastructure would be there in terms of academic as well as physical infrastructure, and then involvement of stakeholders, and we can run down the programs.
Sure, sir. So we can easily say that you will be providing the industry-oriented people or industry-oriented youngsters in the upcoming future. Yeah. So there will not be issue of the unemployment. Correct. Unemployment issue will be solved.
I won't say it will be solved as such, but an attempt to make people more employable. More than employable, what I would say that, because employability is again one aspect of it.
Exactly.
Recently you must have seen that, for example, somebody who is in 40s and who is a very successful employee or a successful entrepreneur, but is that person really contented in his life or her life? Are they really happy with their life?
Right.
So if they are not, in spite of having what they did necessarily strive for their entire life, and still they can't find that contentness, so where do we go wrong? I mean, education, as in formal education, we did go wrong, or we missed on something, or before education, because family itself is an institution, right? So as a family we went wrong. So are we not able to create those kind of humans which are really able to withstand all those pressures and constraints and little failures in life? So this is what perhaps we spoke about holistic education. So this is what is required.
Yeah.
So even if today, I mean, like for example, during our time, whenever anybody asked, without even having any thought of it, we used to say that doctor or engineer.
Yeah.
And we really didn't mean that what exactly it has.
Exactly.
Right? But today, somebody who comes across says that I need to be a content writer, or somebody who needs to say that I really need to be just a film critic. So there is a career for it, right? As long as you are doing an honest attempt to that particular learning, to that skill, are we giving that kind of opportunities? And on top of it, are we really making people more sensitive towards the ups and downs in lives, the failures and success in life? So perhaps it starts, I mean, higher education again. I mean, by the time students reach to higher education, they would, I won't say it late, but yes, there's a lot of learning that has happened, there's a lot of conditioning that has happened. So perhaps it has to start from the family, the social circle, then the education, I mean, school education, and then it should actually be complemented till higher education. So one, we need to really inculcate the skills, knowledge, which are more contemporary in nature. But at the same time, we also need to see to it that we create a robust human. I mean, things which are very social sensitive, who are able to empathize with the world, and also are in self-control of whatever happens, ups and downs that happens in the life. So automatically, I would say that if that happens, not only that, as you said, that the issue of unemployment will be addressed. Yes, of course it will be addressed, but more importantly, who knows? I mean, we would be figuring into top 50 or top 20 as the most happiest countries in the world.
Exactly.
Right? Even Bhutan having lesser GDP than us, all the social, economic indicators are far lesser, but they are far ahead of us in terms of happiness and life. At the end of the day, that's what matters, right?
Yeah.
So the education has to somewhere address those issues, and this is what perhaps I, as a small part of it, would always attempt to do that.
Right, sir.
Yeah.
Again, I am coming on the same line or similar point. After completing the graduation, again, students are not getting their job. So doing the post-graduation is a good thing. We know that there are very less percentage of people are there who are doing the post-graduation. Management program or MBA, we can say that it is a good option nowadays. University is rapidly changing their syllabus. University is making it industry-oriented.
True.
So for sure, MBA will be the good option. What is your opinion about it?
See, as I said at the beginning, if I'm not wrong, MBA, initially if I look at it, I mean, when we look at the evolution of this particular discipline, it wasn't a kind of a program, it was just a kind of a skill building exercise.
Exactly.
But later on it actually got itself into a kind of a formal program. And this is the most wonderful thing that has happened to the education discipline, I believe, MBA programs. Because one, it is open to any discipline, any graduate, right?
It is only the course which is open to any discipline.
Any discipline. And just imagine you have a class wherein you have n number of discipline students studying together. Look at the kind of peer learning it has, right? So MBA at any point in time, I would say that it's in this context what we are today, it's still one of the most relevant course or relevant program that is happening.
Yeah.
So certainly if one gets an opportunity, they would certainly should get into such a program. But again, little onto the flip side of it, are we really legitimately doing those programs as it was intended, the MBA programs? Are we really giving that kind of ecosystem in the classrooms? Are the students really engaged to this particular program? That's another. Because if somebody, I still remember way back to, 2 decades before, there weren't many management institutes, and then it used to be a kind of a tough competition getting into the best of the best colleges, and then we really used to feel that pressure of the studies, the assignments, the presentations, the projects, and we really felt at the end of it that we earned this particular program, right? These days, I somehow get a feeling that things are made easy. and somebody who is not very much engaged also ends up getting a kind of a degree. But at the end of the day, if it gets diluted this way, then even industry will not reciprocate. That's the reason we find today, even you hear the survey of times, we also have a survey of like NASCOM and all that, almost like 70% of the management graduates are not employable. So this is perhaps, as an institution, as a management institution, we need to really do that intervention instead of, as I said in the beginning, more focus on content rather than on the 2-year program. And similarly, because management education also come to undergraduate now. So even at undergraduate we can do that. If somebody who's really done good at undergraduate in inculcating that particular skill set, she or she may not be actually feel that need of going for postgraduate in that context. But yes, it is good for people who have end up into engineering, pharmacy, and they realized into later stage that somehow that is not the kind of discipline they want to make a career, and that's the escape, right? And management education gives you that particular escape to pursue things what you really wish to do. So it is a great thing that has happened to education, I believe.
I would also like to tell each and everyone, if you wish to do the education, if you wanted to do the post-graduation, MBA is good option. As I said that it is only a single course in the education which accepts all kind of these streams. All students from different streams can go for MBA. Sir, we are ending this interview with the last question. You were working with the Tata Institute of Social Science.
Yes,
it was maybe a big achievement for you in your life. So how was that experience?
I didn't think that's a big achievement as such. It just happened in the due course. But yes, all experiences shapes you, right?
Exactly.
Working with TIS also had its unique learnings that I actually still they guide me. The first and foremost is I started looking at education in a more broader way, having worked at TISS. Second, perhaps TISS also gave me an opportunity to think interdisciplinary. Because if you look at the departments, now they have the school concept. So people are working in one center, but they're also having projects in another, and they tie up. So perhaps that is the place where I realized that any innovation, be it in social sciences or be it otherwise, have to happen. It will happen when we go interdisciplinary, when we go multidisciplinary. And I believe that experience still guides me in whatever capacity I'm working in, be it as a professor or be it as a principal. I mean, that has perhaps made a huge difference in terms of addressing wherever I am. And that's why I'm a big advocate of interdisciplinary. And also, in addition to that, a lot of social sensitization also happened working with that place, because it's a professional social work institute, known as professional social work institute, but it's also a management institute. How the management education has to be. I mean, that's also somewhere it's like one of the benchmarking, at least in human resources. Right. And recently now they have migrated to even management in broader concept. So how the industry interface has to be there. So that's also somewhere always guides me. I mean, recently after having taken over here, I'm in talk with TISS, and very soon we'll have a official MOU signed with MMCC, TISS MMCC. So yes, as I said, in every workplace you do learn something. In TISS mostly interdisciplinary and social empathy is the two major skills that I actually feel I earned.
Yes, sir, that was and it was great to listen you. So it was such a nice experience from the Golhar sir, and thank you so much, sir, for giving us the opportunity to taking your interview. And it was a really very nice things that we have heard about Marathwada Mitramandal College of Commerce. Once again, thank you so much on behalf of Zeal Group of Management Institute, and thank you for being here for a Zeal Connect program. I would like to request all of you that stay connected for this program. There will be a next interview of another college and another principal. If you like the video, just click on the like button as well as subscribe our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for listening us so patiently.
Zeal Education Society, redefining excellence.